heard this before.
This has been For the Record. The fuck? It's not that I didn't want to, or that I still thought it was bad. I just didn't think to do it. Which is sad because Nothing Was the Same and Take Care were actually really stellar albums. But I'd rather go pretend I was unique because I listened to... Let's not get into that.
I've been to every work to hit my hometown for almost 4 years now, and it's always been a blast, even if you include the hot weather. And before I even started going, I had dreams of playing a show. I wanted to live that sort of rock star lifestyle that always seemed to be portrayed in Warped Tour. So the behind the scenes really kind of intrigued me. There are a few documentaries put out, like Waking Up Screaming and The Warped Tour, A Look Back. But I feel like the most definitive one is 2010's No Room for Rockstars. The problem was, I never knew the documentary even existed. It was packaged with the band's Warped Tour Greatest Hits album, which featured songs by Sublime, The Descendants, The Damned, and No Doubt. It's okay, but I mostly picked it up for the documentary.
Shot during the 2010 Warped Tour, No Room for Rockstars takes its name from a line spoken by Pennywise's Fletcher Drag and features a cast of musicians at different points in their careers during that year's tour. You have the pop star, the fangirl favorite, the heavy underground act, and the band just trying to make it. So let's not waste any more time. Let's pop that fucker in, turn that son of a bitch on, and let's watch No Room for Rockstars. The film starts off with a montage of massive trucks during the early morning hours, followed by the crew setting up the stages, and it really puts into perspective how much work actually goes into building this massive festival. It is here that we are introduced to the main artist this film will be following, which, I gotta say, was very diverse. We have Mike Posner, an electropop R&B performer before he took a pill in Ibiza, on the rise before his album 31 Minutes to Take Off was even released. This was also a time when people thought he was going to be bigger than he actually ended up being. Up next, we have Christopher Drew of Never Shout Never, a pop rock act out of Joplin, Missouri. The fact that this was released a few months before his infamous Brian Stars interview made him even more insufferable to me. Like, I can't stand Brian Stars, but Jesus Christ.
It's real shit, you know, and if you want to be a part of that real shit, you can, or you can, you know, keep being a joke, you know, it's up to you.
You know, I think it was the Ramones shirt and how they talked about his DIY ethic and how it was very punk. At the time, I was going through my punk phase where I was listening to bands like The Misfits, Black Flag, of course the Ramones, and so hearing someone who made music like that really rubbed me the wrong way, so I just wrote him off as a piece of shit. We also have the late Mitch Lucker of Suicide Silence, and probably my favorite personality to actually be on tour in the documentary, at least to my teenage self. He seemed so down to earth and chill for a guy who was in a metalcore band. I didn't like them at the time, but I can't say I didn't respect them. We see our cast prepare for the gates opening like the calm before a storm. Then the gates open like a tidal wave. The ghost town of the festival grounds becomes alive with fans. I don't remember it ever being this hype when the gates open, because it was all filed down to like 3 sections and 3 separate lines, and they had to scan us, check the girls' bags, and like confiscate our frozen water bottles because they were weapons for some reason. One thing I really enjoy about this documentary is that you really do see a lot of what's behind the scenes. This documentary does a good job of capturing the anticipation before your favorite band goes on stage. We also see how it feels on the other side of the stage as well.
Guys, we got seconds! We're on right now, we're on!
So many kids out there that are raised in this world, and you know, shitty this world is, it's really shitty, it's really worthless. You grow up every day saying things that you hate and despise. It's like, I want to be that heavy band that brings them something else. You put it in, and you're just like, oh, I want to punch a baby.
I don't really think that was the best analogy.
Like, inciting violence.
What he was saying made sense, though. Like, people listen to heavy music like that for a release, to invigorate themselves and let their anger flow. But then he had to talk about punching babies. I'd really be lying if I said this performance wasn't getting me hyped, though.
This first song's about everybody in the whole wide world falling in love with each other.
Oh, come on, I was just getting into that.
I think that there's one thing that everybody can agree on, and that's just like love. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's love for a girlfriend, love for your family, love for just people in general, you know what I mean? I feel like the love energy could be huge on Warped Tour, and I hope that we can all just like come together and have this incredible summer, you know?
Then we get to where my 13-year-old self found another bane of his existence to put next to Lil Wayne. But I have to say, I agree with what he's saying. Love is powerful, and one thing that Warped Tour did was connect people through their love for music. Don't know why he's got shit on his face.
Still don't like their music though. There's just something about it that just really isn't for me.
We pan again to see Mike Posner warming up and preparing for his performance, and
It's my pleasure to introduce you guys to one of the world's next biggest superstars.
Wow. That guy was kind of extremely wrong.
Once I throw on this bow, chicka wow wow, what you gonna say?
so we see Mike perform to his small crowd, but we'll get into that in a bit, because Mike has got to complain a bit.
In like May, like a few months before the tour, like I'm going out doing headlining shows where I had like 2,000 people in the crowd every night, and then like I come to Warped Tour and there's like 200 people in your crowd, you know?
I'm gonna be real here. The only reason why his crowd is so small is, one, he hasn't blown up yet. I think at the time when this documentary started filming, Cooler Than Me was barely even considered a hit. And two, it's Warped Tour. It was the same issue with Riff Raff. Like, some of these kids really kind of revolt against this music. And like I said, Cooler Than Me ended up being a top 40 hit, which is why his crowd started off so small. He was basically the anti-Warped Tour.
I wonder if some of them are gonna hate me. Probably. Yeah, because I've already sold more records than like 95% of them ever will going in.
Mike comes off a little egotistical and somewhat bitter a lot in the documentary, especially because a lot of it was about him being on the tour. Now, then I said he was an asshole and he was lucky to even be put on the tour, but it's pretty public knowledge that at this point, if you're playing a smaller stage, which he was, you aren't getting paid much.
We'll find out.
Yeah, a few bands have gotten their first starts, you know. I mean,
Kevin Lyman discusses the history of Warped Tour and how bands like Sublime, Blink, and Fall Out Boy playing Warped, acts like Pennywise and Polar Bear Club reminisce about going when they were young and how they all got exposure because of the tour.
it was a way for all of us to get together. It was all about unity, and it was a good thing.
Feel like that's been lost, or is that still going on, or what?
No, I think it's still here. You got footage of pits. You watch the guys pick each other up. You watch the girls pick each other up. Somebody falls. I mean, we're all pretty much outcasts in our own way, but to here, it's like we're all together.
How do you mean that?
How do I mean we're outcasts?
Yeah.
We're not the norm. Nobody here is the norm.
This fan has it on point. Warped Tour attendees aren't your normal group of people. Normal people see the pit and they think, what the fuck, psychos? Normal people hear screaming and they think, wow, that's trash. But here, you're with the opposite. And again, that's what I love about punk culture.
I wish they interview more fans. Nah, it's probably going to end up coming off as pretentious like in Metal, A Headbanger's Journey.
Everyone likes Shania Twain and Avril Lavigne. A lot of people in my town would rather I wear, jeans.
All this talk of finding a place where you belong leads us to the introduction of the fourth act in the documentary, Forever Came Calling, who are selling CDs in line.
This is something that always happens on Warped Tour, and has even bled through into other larger tours. I know a band came through and was trying to sell CDs on the tour with the Wonder Years, or a tour with Neck Deep. I have a stack of CDs that either bought or were given to me by bands doing exactly what Forever Came Calling is doing in the documentary. They also talked about this trend of following the tour and selling CDs reached its apex with Mayday Parade, and how they're one of the biggest acts on the tour. I have a couple highlights, actually, that I have. This one, I haven't even taken it out the shrink wrap yet. It's by a group called 3 PM, and I think it was when I saw One OK Rock, Neck Deep, Sleeping with Sirens, and All Time Low. I actually left after Neck Deep, but whatever. I remember they were selling their CD, and I was like, nah, man, I don't have any cash on me. And then he pulled out a card reader, and I was like, all right, I guess I gotta buy it now. I don't know, I haven't listened to it, so I don't really know much about them. This one's only imagined by a 4-door theater. You can see it's kind of cracked and kind of fucked up because I don't know who they were selling the albums with on the tour, but I believe they actually got like several warnings, and I think even kicked off the premise because they were carrying around like a JBL speaker and just blaring like the first few seconds of their demo. Like this CD's like fucked, like it's falling apart. Like I don't even know why I took it out the shrink. But what's funny about bands selling CDs though is that the first year I went, there was this band called Forever Cadence, and they actually played a show outside of the Warped Gates. Like they set up and everything.
For the kids that are out here doing it in vans, those are the real motherfuckers.
Everyone has a tent. Basically, you sit in it all day and try.
Hey, wait a second. Motherfucker.
So I dropped out of high school and, well, I didn't really drop out officially. I just kind of stopped going and, once my parents found out, they kicked me out of the place and started living in my car for a while. And then eventually I booked a tour and got out on the road with my buddy Nick, and we just took a car with trash bags full of merch. And we did that until I was about 17, and then finally we got picked up by management, which was real cool because they got us on some sick tours.
God, why did I hate Chris so much as a teen? Like, his ethic is the very definition of punk rock. Just getting up and getting out and doing what you love. His music isn't for me, though, but damn, all I remember thinking is, man, this fucker isn't punk.
How's it going?
It's going great. How you doing?
Pretty good. Hi, Mama.
Other people, the girlfriends, the parents, the younger sibling. Yeah, they did my man Joe dirty as hell, though, here, leaving him with his ass hanging out and shit, not even trying to edit it out.
You just scan that, you've seen the whole town. Different variations of what you just saw. Fuck that, dude. Fuck that.
Joe is so fucking pop punk, though. Like, you know that joke, like, oh, all pop punk fans hate their towns and they want to get out.
I hate this town. I hate this town. We're getting out of this town with my friends!
Yeah, it's like that, but he's serious. No disrespect, though. If you want to get out of your town and you have a dream of making music, just fucking do it. Joe and crew, along with the rest of Warped, head to Houston, where it's raining like crazy, where they discuss the whole, oh, rain or shine, we will play thing. Every year it's rained during Warped, and it's a fucking blessing in Texas.
How long you guys been together?
Almost 5 years.
Almost like 5 months.
Yeah, we're too like.
How'd you meet?
5 months.
Now I remember why I never hung out with those kids in high school. Unless they talked to me, I looked way too, like, not like them to, I guess, hang out with them. Like, I mean, I played football, and I was too emo for the football players, but anyways, Chris and crew bribe a security guard. Mike complains some more, Mitch does something, and FCC do this. I still don't get the point of this scene. It like does it show that despite their hardships, they still know how to have a good time? And couldn't they have used the money that they got to buy these fireworks? Like, couldn't they have used that instead of stealing coffee and donuts at the beginning of the film? I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking too hard about this. I really need to hop off of his dick. I really respect Kevin Lyman doing this. Like, he's the owner of the tour. He doesn't have to be doing anything, but yet he's out here grilling for his drivers and the bands, and I think that's really cool. And another thing I like about this documentary is that it focuses a little bit more on the roadies and the drivers, and one of the most interesting parts of this film is when they interview Kenny, who is probably one of the most inspiring people on this tour. He states he started off dealing drugs and was in jail before he hopped on Warped.
He just becomes this magnificent beast.
Again, keeping up with the artist's parents is great. I love it. Mitch's family is also kind of funny, especially his sister.
I can't understand it. All I hear is
The mosh
crazy.
pit. Trying to describe a mosh pit to a 10-year-old was a little bit challenging.
honestly, describing the pit to anyone who doesn't listen to the music is hard.
Baby, I love you, I never want to let you go. The more I think about, the more I want to let you know that
one of them would like end up leaving the house. So like, I could not let go of it. I needed Christopher Drew's music most.
As long as you don't say they saved your life, I respect it.
So I get to say thank you every day. And Warped Tour.
I remember that Wayne shirt really pissing me off for no reason.
You know, yesterday I was playing a show and I climbed up the top speaker on our stage, and at the last note of our last song, decided it might be cool to just kind of like walk the plank and just jump off and see what happens.
Alright, chill. He'll be on Warped again soon.
I love you so much. No, but I love you.
I know. You love someone else.
Please.
Relax, seriously. Even though this scene for me was really hard to watch, I love this scene because so many people kind of worship these celebrities, and I think it gives us a moment to think about how these celebrities are also people too, and I use the term celebrities lightly because they're just on Warped Tour. And I'm thankful for documentaries like this because it sort of humanizes them, and they show that these people have families and lives, and at the same time, there's people worshiping these artists like they're more than that. When I saw this as a teen, I thought Chris was just being a dick. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that as fans, they aren't entitled to anything. And I'm almost fairly certain that had he not have had to go see the medic, he definitely would have stopped and signed her picture. He would have taken a picture, and he probably would have done it with more people that were following him as well.
This record, he's going to be #1 on so many different levels. I mean, he's the next Justin Timberlake practically.
Yikes.
When we were in like Dallas, that's when we saw it climbing the charts real fast. And then it just seemed like it kind of just jumped real quick in like 2 weeks, up like 20 spots. We're shooting for that #1 spot. We'll see if it'll happen or not. Eminem, the other Detroit local right now, is kind of standing in the way.
It's so weird seeing Warped Tour get like this much crossover attention with this one artist that I think really hasn't been rivaled since this documentary.
Touring is the shit. The only way you get your music out there now. It's not by fucking radio, it's not by the internet, it's not by TV, it's by touring. Putting yourself in those kids' small cities, in those small fucking towns, for the kids that care to see you. And that's what builds your band. Then those kids tell their friends.
Hey, fucking man. I see kids who went to my high school trying to live the whole musician life, and honestly, they either stay in one place with their own Instagram following or just play shows in the state, and they don't actually take the risk and try and tour. Some of them don't even have things that make them accessible to people who want to hear them. You know, they're just on Facebook. I have a band in my hometown. They don't do Facebook. They don't do Instagram. They don't do Twitter. They don't even have a Bandcamp. They have like Reverb Nation or something.
It's almost become like a job, you know what I mean?
Absolutely love this part of the film. Chris goes into detail about how being on tour and living this sort of lifestyle takes its toll on you. It's something that we never really get to hear from certain bands because most Warped Tour documentaries like to focus on the glitz and glam and the stage dives and what they do after the show, but this documentary really gets into the entirety of how Warped Tour affects you as an artist and as a person.
Fucking A. Is that normal? Oh, that one's really bad, dude. That burning you're smelling, that's definitely us. So we had to get it fixed. It was rough. It took 3 hours just to get the tow truck to us. And then we weren't allowed to sleep in the van, so we had to get a hotel room because the van got locked up in the yard. So it cost $100 to stay in a smoking room in Motel 6. Pretty much our backs against the wall. Like, we have to sell 100 CDs to make the gas money. Otherwise, pretty fucked.
No money, dude. I'm sorry. I brought just enough money for food, and that's it.
Like, honestly, I'm not really that into it. Oh, pretty much at this point, anything you can,
Okay, it's $1 left.
Make money on a record, then we don't need to be a band. It's fucking terrible, dude. something if awards sell.
Damn, they're really playing this up as the worst day ever. Their van breaks down, their CDs aren't selling, they have no money.
But I got to talk to Kevin because there's only like 5 shows left.
Is he always out in the line?
Yeah, he's usually out here like every morning trying to do something. But I don't know, being honest, super nervous whenever I see him, just because I am. But we need to pull the trigger, I guess, and show him like what we have going on.
That is insane. They just decide, finally, after the worst day ever, to take a nosedive and talk to Kevin. Might kind of wonder what's going to happen.
He says yes. Of course he does. They're not going to make Forever King Calling's worst day ever end with Kevin being like, no, sorry, we're not interested in having you play just one show on Warped. That would kind of defeat the whole purpose of this documentary had he had said no.
It's unscripted lies, my art is wasted till wasted. Waiting for you to. I kill myself to shock my friends and let them know love is never as bad as we intended.
After all this time, we finally get to see them play. They played the song No Name, which ends up becoming one of my favorite songs off their album Contender, called The Office.
And that's no room for Rockstars. The documentary ends, Mike has his only #1 album, Chris complains about the tour, I think Mitch kind of just vanished, and Forever King Calling play their first show. Overall, this was a really good documentary, and I recommend that if you have the hour and a half and have $2.99 to stream it, I highly recommend this movie. And it is really bittersweet considering that this is the last time Warped is going to be like how it is in the documentary. But that's pretty much all I have for today. This has been Going on Record. And for those of you wondering, what the fuck is this, who are here from my Late Night Delight controversy, please, I've been building up to this for quite some time now, so I really wanted to kind of finish it before I end up moving forward with more music controversies. I want to talk about lots of things involving all genres, like XXXTentacion, Milli Vanilli, Miss Lauryn Hill, those types of things. So if you're new here, welcome, and I really hope you enjoy Going on Record.
Once I throw on this bow, chicka wow wow, what you gonna say? You act like you gon' leave, but I know that you gon' stay. Break it down, dick it down, down, girl, don't even play. Once I set the mood right, I'ma make it sound like